Assalamualaikum. Hi, my name is Ambia and we are from Group 3 and we're going to explain about export performance in top 3 trade sector between Malaysia with China, Singapore, United States, Japan and Thailand from 2010 until 2020. So trade is not only seen in terms of interstate business activities, but it can also be seen on large scale, namely the export and import activities of goods or commodities from within and outside the country. So Malaysia has also established extensive trade relations with more than 50 countries, including China, Singapore, United States, Japan and Thailand, which is the 5 countries that we are going to study in this report. Moving on to 3.1, Malaysia's top 3 trade sector. According to the Department of Statistics Malaysia 2020, Malaysia's exchange rate volatility index has topped 130% in the last decade of GDP. As such, we focus on 3 trade sectors, which is manufacturing, mining, and agriculture. So the first one is manufacturing, which consists of electrical and electronic products, E&E, chemicals and chemicals product, machinery, appliance, parts, and others. The manufacturing sector in Malaysia and its export success are intricately intertwined. Over 80% of items manufactured are destined for export. As a consequence of the fast development of industrial operation from year 1986 to the present, machinery and transport equipment included in E&E items have emerged as the country's key exports. The second one is mining, which consists of liquefied natural gas, LNG, crude petroleum, refined petroleum, and others. So the mining and excavation sector is often recognized in the world as the basis for the development and design of various infrastructure, innovative structure, facilities aimed at enhancing the global community. It also as catalyst and an important component for any country, including Malaysia, which strive to obtain the status of an industrialized development and high income country. So the third one and the last one, which is agriculture, which consists of palm oil, saw logs and saw timber, crude rubber and others. So in Malaysia, the main export product that is focus of importing countries is palm oil, where this product has dominated Malaysia's agriculture sector trade since 1990. Malaysia was also the world's leading producer of natural rubber in 1930s. But in the 2020, Malaysia's natural rubber export were only worth RM 3.3 billion, equivalent to 0.3% of total export for the year. So that's all from me. Thank you.
So now I will explain about the export performance between Malaysia and the People's Republic of China, or PRC. So Malaysia and the People's Republic of China, PRC, has been a trading partner for decades, and this year marks their 13th year of PRC becoming the largest trading partner for Malaysia. So the relationship between Malaysia and PRC has brought a significant impact to the Malaysia's economy through its bilateral trade and regional trade in free trade agreement. So Malaysia exports to PRC has increased to 159,220 million ringgit, which is an increase of 13% from the previous year, according to the MIT report to 2020. In manufacturing sector, major export to PRC is electrical and electronic products (E&E), with its total export of 54,786.1 million ringgit in 2019, dropped to 53,901.1 million ringgit in 2020 due to the closure of the border and restriction of movement. However, we can see that in mining sector, there's an increase of crude petroleum export from Malaysia to PRC from 0.9850 million tons in 2019 to 1.054 million tons in 2020. In agriculture also, we can see that there's an increase of palm oil export to PRC, which it increased to 1,848,433 metric tons, which is an increase of 31.1% metric tons for the period from January until August of 2020. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to everyone. My name is IZZATI binti KAMAL, and I will continue this presentation by explaining the next slide, which is export performance between Malaysia and Singapore. So the first sector is manufacturing. Export to Singapore reached RM 142.16 billion in 2020, representing a 3.7% growth over Malaysia's overall export to other ASEAN nations, which now stand at RM 272.92 billion. Higher manufacturing sector items such as E&E, petroleum product, as well as equipment and machinery, also replacement parts, assist the growth. Despite of the COVID-19 pandemic, this has resulted in a considerable growth in export commerce between Malaysia and Singapore in 2020. Next, the second sector is mining. Mining product export amount for 5.9% of overall export in 2020, which a decrease of 29.6% from 2019. All mining products had a drop in export, which led by the LNG and crude petroleum. According to the United Nations Trade database on international commerce, Malaysia's export of mineral fuels, oils and distillation products to Singapore totaled over 5.07 billion in 2020. Next, for the last one, we move to agriculture sector. Agriculture product export climbed 8.7% from the previous year to 71.68 billion ringgit in 2020, accounting for all the overall export. The rise was mostly due to an increase in palm oil and palm oil-based agriculture export to RM 52.33 billion, which was helped by the greater palm oil export. Malaysia's gross domestic product (GDP) contribution from palm oil was predicted to reach 2.7% of its GDP in 2020. Palm oil is one of the Malaysia's core industry and the country's largest agriculture export worldwide.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad ASHRAF ABDULLAH, Matric numbers 2788665, and I'm going to talk about the 3.2.3 export performance between Malaysia and United States, US. United States has become the third largest exporting partners for Malaysia in 2020 with a total amount of 60.07 billion ringgit or 11.1% of Malaysia's total exports. The manufacturing sectors has become the major contributors to this export, which also contributing 22.9% to the Malaysia's GDP, improving slightly Malaysia's economy, which fell due to the pandemic COVID-19 in 2020. The electrical and electronics product E&E is one of the products under manufacturing sectors. In 2012, there is an increase in the export of E&E products in the total export to the US. This increase has helped in boosting the manufacturing sectors, which showed a slight increase of 4.8%. It also helped the manufacturing sectors become the second largest contributors after the service sectors to Malaysia's GDP, which increased by 1.2%. Next, one of the products under mining sectors is the crude oil products. In 2014, there is a global decline in oil prices, which resulting in higher production of Malaysia crude oil products. This has indirectly increased the total exports to the United States. This decline has also reduced the cost production, especially in the mining sectors, and this situation has increased Malaysian total exports by 6.4% to 766.13 billion ringgit, which improved the Malaysia's GDP by 4.44% in 2014. One of the products under agriculture sectors are rubber products. In 2015, there is an increase in the export of rubber products to the United States by 35.7%. It also one of the main factors that increased the Malaysian total exports by 1.8% to 779.9 billion ringgit from the year before, which also helps in improving the Malaysia's GDP growth in 2015. That's all from me. Thank you.
My name is Michelle, number Malaysia 2777409. Now I will continue the part 3 by 2.4 export performance between Malaysia and Japan. The history of Japan's involvement in Malaysia can be traced back to the beginning of this century. Japan considered Malaysia as a source country that allows roadsmen. and material to be exported. Japan has trade relations with Malaysia as a natural market that has the potential to offer finished products of goods produced by Japan. Manufacturing industry has quite different results in 2020. For the sector manufacturing, Malaysia export of E&E equipment to Japan were highest in 2020. It is around $4.21 billion. It contributes to fourth quarter GDP growth more than 3% and country's economic growth for 22.9%. Next, for the sector meaning, Malaysia may export the liquid natural gas LNG to Japan, where total around 11 million tons of LNG or equivalent to 610 million thousand yen of the GDP export 2018. It contributes 18.3% to the country's total export. Then sector agriculture, Japan major importer of timber from Malaysia. Average the timber is sourced from Sarawak, which allocate about 40% of timber production to be produced locally. Export local timber and timber production increased to 23 ringgit billion in 2019 from 22.3 billion in the previous year. Japan's total export account for 18%. At the same year, plywood market in Japan declined to 21.1% and to 2.73 ringgit billion, only due to the low stock of Malaysia plywood. That's all for me. Thank you. I will pass the presentation to the next presenter.
My name is TIFANNY anak TABOH. My metric number is 281977. In this video, I will talk about export performance between Malaysia and Thailand in the three major sectors, which is manufacturing, mining, and agriculture. As we all know, Thailand and Malaysia are both members of the ASEAN. Both of these countries, they share things such as trade, investment, and land border also. From this relation, there is a trade activity where the main product export between Malaysia to the Thailand are integrated circuit, crude petroleum, and the office machine part. However, the most exported product to Thailand is electrical and electronic. This total is 3.95 billion in the 2020. Through this export, manufacturing production will lead to the increase in the Malaysian GDP from 81,907 billion to 81,699 million. In 2019, Malaysian total trade with Thailand will be RM 99.98 billion. Thailand was investing in Malaysian country in the manufacturing sector project. This manufacturing sector contribute to 22.3% to Malaysian gross domestic product, which is a decreased value compared to the 5% record in the 2018 GDP. In mining sector, Malaysia total export mining sector product to Thailand is RM 45.27 billion. Mining products like coal, briquettes, and similar solid fuel. Petroleum and chemical are the second highest export industry in the 2020. Agriculture product export from Malaysia to Thailand contribute about 8%, RM 44.1 billion of the country GDP in 2016. The export involved palm oil product from the total export of RM 70.43 billion. This value show an increase of 5.9% from the previous year, 2015. This is due to the higher average unit volume in the palm oil production. To rebalance the Malaysian economic market, the purchase from Thailand has enabled Malaysian balance of payment to be rebalanced. In conclusion, Malaysia export performance is indeed since up and down between the 10th-year study, 2010 until 2020. Each sector, manufacturing, mining, and agriculture, has a different impact and amount of production for the exporting trading country. Export also contribute to the country gross domestic product (GDP). As a recommendation, we as a group feel that Malaysia can establish various of the type of cooperation in addition to exciting ones with foreign country. In addition, Malaysia should expand the country business network to countries that have not yet gained access to trade and trade. This is so that Malaysia obtain benefit from the country trade activities. That's all. Thank you.